Hey, this is Mike, and today I'm going to help you get started with a practice routine. You know, a lot of us have trouble establishing any kind of a structure or plan to our practice, and yet I think we would all agree that if we have a plan and a structure to our practice routine, and if we have regular times to practice, that it will really help us achieve the goals that we want to achieve as bass players. So we're going to start with that today. I'm going to get you started with a very simple practice routine. We're going to work on the major scale. Now, if you saw any of my tutorials in the past, if you've seen any of my tutorials in the past, you'll notice that I mention the major scale quite a bit. So you may already be familiar with this scale. But today I'm going to show you how we can use it in our practice routine. So the very first thing I want you to do is download my chart, or get your own chart if you want, but I have one for you on my website, worshipbassworkshop.com. It's a free download. You just download it, and in the left-hand column of that chart, you'll see you can put whatever you want to work on. If it's a particular song, you can put that song. If it's scales, you can put that in there. And then you have space for 6 days. I think it's 6 days. You could put in there, and you can add a seventh if you want. And you can have a goal of practicing as many days as you want. But the thing is, you want to mark that off. You want to have something that you look at every week and say, okay, I checked that off, I checked that off. And this, for some of us, this is very helpful in maintaining a routine. So the key here is to start off small. Take small steps and then work your way, add things to it later. Don't set yourself up to fail by piling on too much to a practice routine that you almost know that you can't handle. Okay, so I won't give myself 2 hours worth of work when I don't have 2 hours to spare every single day. Okay, so start off small, and then we'll just move on from there. First thing we want to do is work on the major scale. Major scale is very simple. We're going to start in G here, and so I have my middle finger on the root. This is the pattern we're going to use for this practice routine. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. All right, now let me tell you 3, maybe even 4 things that you'll get from working on this scale, the way I'm going to show you. Number 1, you'll get a good knowledge of the most common scale in music, the major scale. So as you hear this over and over, as you play it in different keys, you'll be able to identify it. Many of you can already identify that that is a major scale when you hear it. Okay, so, but you're going to work training your ear through the keys as you work through this scale, if you work this scale through the keys. Okay, secondly, you're going to develop consistent fingering on both hands. You're going to develop consistent fingering in your left hand as you do the fingerings that I'll teach you, and also in your right hand as you alternate your index and your middle finger. I'm going to show you that how you're to play these scales in practice. Okay, so let's do the first one. We're going to work through G. Now, when you're working through this scale, your right hand is going to be alternating your index and middle finger for every note. So it's the same as walking. So we're going to go G, but if you look at the right hand here, so I'm alternating fingers every note. Okay? All right, there we go. So if you have to do this scale that slowly or even slower, go ahead and do it. Practice is very important to be precise. Okay? You don't want to have a sloppy practice, because as you develop your skill and your technique, if you're practicing in a sloppy way, then you're going to perform in a sloppy way. So make sure you're taking your time and doing everything the way you want to do it. So with your left hand, you want to be using 1 finger per fret, as long as it's not hurting. When you get down here, for some of us, it will really hurt and cause some injury. So be careful with that, I will tell you. But as long as you can, use 1 finger per fret. Use the fingers that are hard to use. The ring finger, the pinky together sometimes are very hard to use. Make sure you use those, keeping your hand relaxed. Okay, then what you're going to do is move up 1/4. So you did the G, And when we move up a fourth, we're just moving up 4 notes from the G. G, A, B, C. That's our next scale. Same pattern. Okay? And then we move up a fourth again, which is F. Now, if you notice, we run out of strings. So we got the first 5 with that pattern, but then we're going to have to find where the last 3 notes are. And that will be up here. So since we do F, G, A, B flat, C, our next notes will be D, E, F. Okay, then we come down. Okay. Now the other way you could do this is to find your F up here, which is on the 9th fret. I said 9th, I meant 8th. So on the 8th fret, A string, you'll find your F. Okay, then we go up to the B flat. If you notice, I went down, but we're moving up in fourths. I just moved to another octave. So the key here is to know where these scales are everywhere on your neck. So you'll start to develop a pattern. As you go up here to the F, you'll start to learn the next one is B flat. Then E flat, which is a fourth down again. A flat up here or down here. Then D flat. We're just working through every key. Then G flat or F sharp. Now you can also do that up here. Then B, E, okay, then A, I'm going to speed it up a little bit, D, and then we're going to finally end on G. Okay, so you work through all the scales, you work through all the keys, all of the major scales in every key, which is 12 keys. Okay, so once again, you're doing this every day, 10, 15 minutes a day, and you're helping your ear to hear that in all different keys. That will start to be a benefit as you begin to listen to music and learn music by ear or play with other musicians and begin to improvise. So the next thing you're going to do is develop your sense of melody with these scales. Now, so many great melodies are developed just out of this major scale. So one thing you could do here is just create a melody. So use the scale, instead of playing it in a mechanical way like this, once you know the scale, then start working in a little different rhythm and playing the notes with a little more emotion and feeling, and see what you could do with it. For instance, so you can start to have a lot of fun with the scale no matter where you are. So no matter what key, you can play it however you want. So you'll start to develop some ways of playing different melodies and start getting a sense of melody and seeing how these scales are not just building blocks, but how you can actually use them to build melodies and build bass lines. And you'll start to get a sense of just how to connect these notes in more melodic ways as you work on these. So give that a try. Give it 10 minutes a day. Give it 15 minutes a day if you have it. But schedule that time. If it's first thing in the morning, if it's right before bed, whatever time is good for you, I would say try to find a time that you can schedule and then use that time and try to put in 4 or 5 days of this and see how it does for you. Remember to keep your fingering consistent. Remember to be listening. Remember to keep your pattern nice and clean. Remember to make your notes articulate. You don't want to play through it sloppily. Don't do it faster just for the sake of doing it faster, but do it for the sake of getting better, of playing these notes the way you want them to be played. Take your time. You can speed up later. And that is the key. So, all right. Until next time, I will see you, and I'd love to hear how you're doing with this. And until then, thanks.